Shall we play a game?
Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Adam and this is another P3D video. Today we're having a look at the trees within P3D and we're going to be comparing the default trees to what Orbx give to the simulator and the new Terraflora 2. So this is a true comparison video. So we're loaded up into Birmingham and I've maximized my vegetation settings and ticked the dynamic box. I've minimized all the buildings just so we can highlight the trees, and these are the trees, the 3D trees. They look really nice, I must say. I'm a big fan of these trees. In fact I can't see any crisscross trees at all. Now I've chosen Birmingham Airport because there's trees surrounding this airport, and they're quite varied as well. So this will give us a good look at them all. So we're going to go around. This is the default, and this is the spring selection. And at the end of the video, there's going to be a flyover of the various trees, but in their winter configuration. So I'm going to stop the video in a moment, and I'm going to load up and untick the dynamic box, and we're going to see what happens. Okay. So coming back, after ticking the button, the 3D models have completely gone, and they are left with these crisscross trees, which are the default P3D ones. So I'm now going to add Orbx, because before this there was no Orbx on my system. No global, no land class, no global HD trees. And what we're going to do is I'm now going to put in the first turbulent trees from Turbulent, the Terraflora trees. I'm going to put them in, and we're going to see how they change these default 3D models. Okay, be right back. So now we've added Turbulent Trees, Terraflora, to the mix. It still has kept the default trees in the sim, but I can tell it's added a few other class types of trees, and they do stand out from the default. So let's just have a look in the up in the air and have a look at what we get. So I've taken Orbx completely out of the loop here. This is all just Terraflora and default, and we're not really concerned about frame rates. This isn't that type of video, but I want to find a spot that we can easily start matching with. So I think this is probably a good spot, having that in the middle. So as I said, I had the vegetation slider all the way to the distance, so it goes out all the way. The buildings I've just completely cut off, so we don't get any distractions. So yeah, you can clearly see a difference of tree types, and these trees look okay. They don't stand out as looking cartoony, although the turbulent ones are very green. And even from here, these don't look crisscrossed. They don't look flat, you know. But yeah, very, very good. So I'm now going to go away, and I'm just going to pop in global base, and that is it. Orbx global base, and we're going to see what that does. So now I've gone away and I've loaded up global base, and I honestly can't see if it's added that much difference to this airport here. Trees look like they're still in the same place. They still look like the same tree types as before. Let's have a look outside the cockpit and let's see if it's changed the landscape of the trees. Obviously, ground textures have changed. So I do see a difference here, because I remember a lot more trees off in this area than there are now. There's a lot less trees. This here reminded me a lot of like this here. And now it seems to have shifted this way. And when looking out here, yeah, that's still bald as it was before. But I remember this spot right in front of us having a few more trees than it did. But I also remember, and I'm not sure if I'm at the right height, yeah, the horizon line seemed to finish a little bit earlier. I don't know. Have a look and compare. So, as a side note, what I want to do now is I want to introduce the land class for Europe and just see how the configuration of these trees changes when land class is added. So we're back in the sim real quick. I just wanted to address a problem actually that I think a lot of people have and then blame their hardware for, when it actually isn't. That is the issue. As you can see, pretty much all the trees seem to have disappeared, along with all the buildings were never there to begin with, but as we can see, there are only a few scattered trees about. It's a complete barren landscape, not even any objects, you know, just only a couple of bridges. But obvious problems with the landscape. There's night lighting evident. This will happen, guys, if you forget to tick one option or two, which is your library and your object flow. If you forget to tick these two, you will get issues. If you do not install them, there will be issues with any Orbx products, because the Orbx products require them. Okay, so we'll come back when this is loaded back up. So we're back in the sim, and as you can see, the trees have changed quite a lot from the previous version. There's a lot of mini trees here that are either connected to the land class areas that are now here that weren't before. But there are a lot more trees than previously, and this is with land class put in. In fact, the trees now go off as far as you can't even see where they end, and that bald patch here is no longer here. In fact, it's just trees everywhere, to be fair. Completely everywhere. It's actually quite stunning of how many trees there are, and the only thing we've done is added the land class. So let's have a look at the trees here. They don't really look like the amount of trees have changed, although maybe a few here that I didn't remember seeing before, but the type of tree has definitely changed. No longer do we see a variety of tree types, it's just pretty much one or two tree types. So probably more realistic now to this region. But basically I'm going to go away now, and I'm going to install the England region, and we can see what happens to these trees. Just out of curiosity, the frame rate indicated by the sim is at 30. With all these trees installed, it's still getting 30 frames, which is interesting. So we're going to go away now, and I'm going to install the England region, and we're going to see how it changes the trees. And then after that, we'll be installing version 2 of Terraflora. Okay, so we're back in Birmingham. We've got the England region loaded up, and as you can see, the trees have changed yet again. So there are several configurations for how the trees are laid out. It doesn't look like it's added any new varieties. It just changes the placement of where these trees are. And as you can see, there are a load more as well. Now, I have unticked the land class for Europe when I put in the England region, as I was told by Orbx. In fact, it's changed the layout of the roads as well. I was told by Orbx that the England region, or any region that they have, includes global base, includes land class, and includes vector data. Now, obviously, by using this England region, it has actually changed the layout of the roads, which I dare say changes the layout of a lot of things from the default vector data, which is supposed to be really good in P3D version 5. But anyway, getting back to the trees, they remain the same. I don't think I'm going to use the regions now, because now that I've done this, although there seems to be a lot more trees out to here, and there's obviously more buildings have been put in because of this. But the simple fact is, it changes the vector data, and there's no way to stop that. So if we want to keep the default vector data, which is better than Orbx's vector, which is what's built into the England region, then I can't use the England region again. Either way, I still have not put in Global Trees HD. So I'm going to go back to the land class region, and I'm going to put in Global Trees HD. And here is a quick shot of the land class and turbulent trees and the land class trees, how they're figured. And we're going to compare once I've loaded that in now. Okay, so we're back in the simulator, and I've added Global Trees HD. We still got the land class running, and we still have turbulent trees running. And I think the one striking difference here is the quality of these trees. Now, my settings are running at only 2K, but I can tell a visual difference between these trees and the trees from before, which were just turbulent and default. So I believe now that the trees in P3D have been given a complete overhaul and removal. So there is no more default trees in P3D. There's that road back again. We've lost a load of trees here, which were, right, yeah, there they are, they're filling in now. They were present there. Obviously, it takes a while for this many trees to be put in. As you can see, there are a lot of trees. Some of them are highlighted, some of them are not. I believe that the ones that are highlighted are Global Trees HD, and the ones that are not highlighted, the darker versions, are the turbulent trees. So as you can see, it looks a lot different. So what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to take off, and we're going to fly over this area, and then I'm going to go away, and I'm going to install in Terraflora 2. Now, in the website of Orbx. It states that if you install Terraflora 2, it will disable the Terraflora version 1 trees, even if you haven't uninstalled it. So let's just get rid of our cockpit. So as you can see, these trees have a very definite look about them. And yeah, I mean, they look like trees, don't they? They look very nice. I still think I'm a little partial to the default trees that you get. So we'll just pause it here. And yeah, a real variety of photoreal trees, I must say. So global HD trees, you know, they're not 3D. But in fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to tick the 3D tree option. Let's see what happens to all these trees that we've got in the simulator when I tick the dynamic trees. What happens to the trees we have in here? Won't be a moment. So we're back in the simulator, and I've ticked the dynamic autogen tree option for the 3D, and it's brought some other trees back. It's like traded them off, it seems. I don't think these trees were exactly the models that were in the previous, but rewind the video and have a look and just have a see, because I could be wrong on that. But judging by the colour of the landscape, we've got some very funny looking trees that have appeared now. Very bright green trees. And I'm wondering if this is our 3D trees default back again. And as you can see, they're very bright and different. So let's take this bird to the air and we'll see what the difference really is. So these aren't Terraflora 2. This is Terraflora version 1, Global HD, and Default, all in the same. Let's get rid of that. To be honest, ticking the dynamic button doesn't do any favors for the tree landscape. At the same time, nor the frame rate. Although as I fly over, the colouring of these trees are changing on the fly. So yeah, I have a feeling that yes, I can see what's happening now. So these green coloured trees are the turbulent trees that have yet to load, mainly because they're loading off an HD drive and not an SSD drive. So the colouring of these trees is a pure skin on it, which means these bright green ones must be default trees, but with no texture on. It's just the model of the tree, and then as we fly over, it's bringing it in. which is no good. So we're going to untick that, and then I'm going to install Terraflora 2, and we'll have a look at what it looks like. Okay, so back in the simulator. As a side note, right here what we have is just the global HD trees. No turbulent trees have been added, and I gotta tell you, I don't really see a difference at all. So let's quickly just take this to the air. All the trees kind of do look the same. In fact, oh, we have more. In fact, more trees here. But yeah. Alright, take it to the air. So here is just global HD now. Trees, which, to be honest, when the turbulent ones were added, I do think it was a lot different as well. I think with this one, it definitely looks a little different. Let's get down low. A lot of varieties and a lot of different colors. And this is still, we're in the spring configuration. But I think the turbulent ones do add to the sim. So anyway, I'm going to go away now, and I'm now going to input Terraflora 2. Okay, so we're back in the simulator. I've put version 2 of the Terraflora Trees in the sim. My initial first impressions looking here is that there is no difference between Terraflora 2 and Terraflora 1. The trees look identical. I've also got Orbx Global HD installed here, so let's go to the height and see if it changes the landscape. So already I can tell that there is a difference of the coloring again. If you go back to the other video where global and version 1 were installed, there was a difference. Tree textures have more of a lighter highlighting than they did before. There's more difference of separation of two types of trees being used, and there seems to be quite a lot of them. Now, one thing I noticed is that the models being used here, if we actually take off, one thing I noticed is that the models being used in version 2 are identical to the models being used in version 1, but there is a difference between the two versions. I wholeheartedly cannot agree with Orbx to say that this is a version 2. This is 1.5, guys. And the reason I think that is because they're the same models used within the package, but you have two other version varieties of the same model, and that is basically dependent on the coloring from Orbx and this time of the season. So this is, yeah, pretty much exactly the same. So I'm just going to shut the sim down and show you these two files. So on the left here we have the original Terraflora, and these are the tree textures that you got with them, which are, for these ones, if we have a look at the information on it, they're not even 4K, but these can be scaled to 4K, and there's 19,000 colors. So if we go here now, as you can see, there's 3 different versions of the same bush, and if you look at the picture side by side, it is exactly the same tree, and the information from that one and the information from that one, they are identical. Basically what they've done for version 2 is taken the modelings from version 1 and created 2 new tree looks, not even new trees. Now on first look, you look at these and go, what is the difference? The names are slightly different. That one has an F at the end, this one has a D, and this one has a TF. So this is for Terraflora, as in the original colouring of the Terraflora range. This one is for the Orbx colouring to be in line more with Orbx Trees HD. And then this one I can only assume is for a winter texture. Why it looks the same, I don't know. There is a slight difference between these two. But other than that, they're all the same. Even same file size and resolution. So of course there's 3 more. There's 53 full, tree textures here. There's 179 because every tree is repeated 3 times, and I'll show you exactly the reason why that is. When you load up your Orbx account and you go to Terraflora 2, there is a configuration menu. You didn't get one with the Trees HD, but with Terraflora you do. And basically you can configure every season to look a certain way. So in winter you could have Terraflora 2 light snow, or you could have original snow found in the original Terraflora 1 trees, or you could use the Orbx HD trees if you've got that installed, or P3D default if you haven't, and have the default snowy trees instead. We were in spring, so let's look at that. So we can have the Terraflora 2 color for Orbx, the FTX color palette from Orbx, or go to the original Terraflora version 1, original spring trees, or choose a muted color spring trees based on the original version 1, or have Orbx HD or P3D default, depending if you've got it installed or not. And it's the same. Now, there is a non-snow option for winter, as well as the heavy snow option. And then there's the other section for tropical jungle and desert vegetation. Now, I wonder what's going to happen if we try and get a variety of all 3 in the same season. So if I don't use Orbx HD in this option, Orbx HD will not show up in the sim. So if I tick Orbx HD for one of these seasons, those types of trees will show up. And because I have kept the original installation of Terraflora 1, which is the same as 2, I can pop in Terraflora as well alongside Orbx HD trees, which you're able to do that anyway. So what I'm going to try and do is have all 3 versions in at the same time. Orbx's color palette of Terraflora version 1, and then pop in the version by Terraflora version 1, and Orbx HD trees should be there as well. And we'll go back into the simulator once I've done that. Okay, so we're back in the sim, and what I've done is in my add-ons, I still have got the Global Trees HD ticked. I've also got Terraflora 2 ticked, and even though when you install Global Terraflora 2, it will disable your original installation of Terraflora, I was able to make a copy, extract it, and add it as its own entry. And judging the previous video, which just had Terraflora and Global, and looking at this now, there is a difference, which means it is possible to have Global and Terraflora version 1 and Terraflora version 2 in your sim all at the same time. Now, by doing that, of course there's an increase in frame rates and in vegetation, which is still maxed out, but it looks a lot different. There is much more vegetation here than there was in the previous. There's slight different colorings. But I definitely can see a difference. So what are we looking at exactly? Well, we're looking at Global Trees HD. We're looking at Terraflora version 1. And we're looking at Terraflora with the Orbx coloring on it. Now there is a tick box in Orbx as well, which we're going to have a look at in the next video, in the next one, which basically gives you a muted option as well. Now, this muted option is simply Terraflora Trees, and they say version 2, but version 2 and version 1 are exactly the same. There is no difference between the two. But it takes that and it mutes the colors, which means you have a slightly altered look to your trees. Just slightly though. So, and now this is what we get, and I must say, I have noticed a difference here by having Terraflora version 1, Terraflora version 2, which is the same, but with an Orbx color palette applied to it, and Global HD. Now, so if we now go back to Orbx and we load up Orbx Central, and we load up Terraflora 2's configure panel for the springtime, but we choose the muted option, then we will now see 3 different versions of the trees in the sim. And when we come back, that's exactly what we'll see. Okay, so we're back in the sim, and what I've done is I've gone to Orbx and I've used the muted color variety for all of the version 2 trees. And then I've put in as well the version 1 trees, which have the original coloring. And of course we've got Orbx HD trees. So to be honest, there should be 3 different versions of trees here, because Terraflora version 2, which is the same as version 1, is slightly muted in color than the version 1. And you can now tell that shading is slightly different. Now, I think this is going to be more apparent in the fall. So what I'm going to do is we're going to quickly take off and we're going to do a flight over Birmingham. And we right now are in the spring, and then we're going to change it to fall, and we're going to see what change there is. Now if I was to go to the weather now, or the time and season, and just change it on the fly to fall, it changes the sky coloring. It's like a shade, which is pretty cool. But in order for this to actually take any type of effect, we need to click apply. And yeah. And there is the difference with autumn now. One thing I have noticed is that not all the trees have been converted to this autumn texture. Some of them still remain, and I wonder if that is anything to do with the original Terraflora or not. But there is definitely very faint shadings going on with the trees. You can tell there is a difference between 2 different types of autumn colors, as well as the dark green. Now let's get some height here, and we're going to suddenly change it now to winter. Oh. And let's see what that brings us now. So this is the winter time now, with all the trees, and still has left a lot of trees considering it's winter. Obviously this is the non-snowy version of winter. There is a snowy version as well, but I'll save that for another video. So basically what you get with version 2 is the same as version 1, but the option to use either version 1 or 2 or global trees at any one time. But if you keep your original copy of version 1, you can use the muted color tone of version 2 alongside version 1 with global trees and have twice as many trees. And it makes a slight bit of difference. Anyway, that's it really. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.